Good evening and welcome back to the British GP. A very warm welcome to Silverstone, the beating heart of the British motorsport and the birthplace of Formula One. We are here for round 17 of the Speed 4 Racing Championship in season 17, the last race of the season. And we are here today at this legendary circuit with its high-speed corners, unpredictability of the weather, and electric atmosphere which has delivered countless classic moments, and today promises to be no different. The grandstands are packed, the engines are roaring, and the tension is sky high because there's a championship fight between three drivers: Keith, Energy Dan, and Probelli. 40 drivers here today. My name is Jerry Morris, and alongside me tonight is Milan Langer. How are you doing, mate?
I am doing very good, and thank you. Once again, I am grateful to be here for another round of SFR, and wow, with a track like this, you just know it's going to be a great season finale.
Indeed it is. There's the first driver out there is Stiang. Both Saubers have been very good recently as well, but they came alive at the wrong time in the championship towards the last stages because I know they've been struggling, especially I think Havlar as well, who has been struggling because he's taken victories twice this season, and that was back at the Miami Grand Prix as well, the first time I actually commentated as well this season after the other commentators dropped out, so I had to get back in. But it doesn't matter. Vegas, Netherlands and the British GP have all been amazing as well to commentate for Division 3, even though there's been about 14-50 drivers on the circuit. But nevertheless, even though there's a lack in numbers, we can always still have a great race. Last time out, we were at the Dutch GP when the home favourite Oscani took the victory by about 8 seconds as well. What a fantastic victory was for Scani to win his third victory this season. I think he's got the most wins out of anybody this season as well. Yes, he has. So the man in fourth place in the championship has got the most wins, but unfortunately is not in the championship fight because he's 40 points behind. Of course, we get 25 for the victory, so he's well out of contention as well. So it's all down to Energy Dan, Keith and Probelli. Now it's 2 versus 1 essentially, but Probelli does have the advantage in the points by 30 points as well. So I think for Probelli, all he needs to do tonight is bring it home, don't do anything daft or silly, and make sure you don't get yourself in any trouble with the stewards, with the drivers, or yourself. Keep it on the road, whilst Energy Dan will try and go for the victory, try and get as many points as he can. Last season in Division 2, Energy Dan was leading the race, but unfortunately, when he led the race, a safety car came out and he picked himself up a 10-second penalty for speed in the pit lane. And still he was involved in the fight all the way to the end because I think it was Casti who was fighting along with him as well for the win at the British GP. But Energy Dan is here tonight in P12, and let's see what he could do as Probelli is starting a lap time on the Wellington Straight as we head down towards Brooklands. 2 amazing corners coming up where we see thrilling action side by side all the way through Luffield towards Cops as well, because sometimes the battles can end in Cops when you go side by side. As Lewis Hamilton and Verstappen, when the battle literally ended with Verstappen in the wall and unfortunately in the hospital, had a 33-point lead but lost it all after the crash with Lewis Hamilton, as Charles Leclerc was leading majority of the British GP, with Hamilton started second, and he had a 10-second penalty for the collision with Verstappen, but still overtook Leclerc on the inside of Cops. Here comes Probelli then towards the Chapel the Chapel corner, and the Hangar Straight, I believe this is. I get confused between the Wellington and Hangar Straight, I don't know why. But here we are, down towards Cops we go. Then another stunning corner to go side by side as well in the previous years, as you can run out wide on the exit, but not too wide, of course, to gain an validation. As he heads down towards the slowest 3 corners on the circuit, Stiang sets the quickest time of a 27.4. But can Probelli beat it as he makes his way towards the line now? He goes up or stays in P2.
Only a tenth of a second off, even less. But what about the other Sauber of Havlar, who has been quick in qualifying this season, but his lap time is only going to be good enough for P3, and he's a couple more tenths behind with a 27.9. And the other Haas, Mitrandir, the 2 Saubers and the 2 Haas kicking off this qualifying session. Mitrandir is going to cross the line, and he slots in between Probelli and Havlar. So a top 4 for OWR and the 2 Haas drivers in a Sauber sandwich, but still a lot of drivers to set it up. Scani, race winner of last week, has just started his lap. Let's see what he can do, because he has been quite quick this season, we know. We also have seen that last season. So right on board with the McLaren as he goes into village in the first sector. Have to be narrow on the apex there. As Ronnie goes quickest in the Aston Martin, 127.387, 1/10 ahead of Steen, and the Aston Martin suddenly at the front of the field with a great lap time there. as he puts his Aston Martin on the front row around the McLaren of Scani. Purple on the bottom right. Not sure if that is actually the case. You have to be, yeah, it's not always the case. It runs out of Lovefield. Now the run towards Cops Corner flat out, which it usually is on this year's game. In the last couple of years, Cops Corner has become flat out, but you have to be careful a little bit with the curb on the inside, because it can really catch you off guard if you hit it at a wrong angle. Now, through Baggett's and Baggett's, we will go. Yes, it's Baggett's to the left, and then we go into Baggett's and Chapel on the exit. And Chapel, personally, find the corner I really struggle with on the exit, but he seems to match it quite nicely. But he has run quite low on ERS as he pulls onto the hanger straight. And now we go down into Stowe, where you have to really hit the apex there and not make sure to run out wide. Now into the final chicane with high curb stunts on the inside of both these, and he absolutely slams onto the inside curbs, Kenny does, and now he's a moment out of shape on the exit as well, and that final sector has really ruined his lap, but in the end it's a 27.5 and still puts him in P3.
Yeah, that lap time would have put Scani on pole, but like you saw, he made a big mistake as he collided to the curb, lost the balance of the car, and his equilibrium was ruined since then, unfortunately, for the McLaren driver. But still, 5 thousandths quicker or 4 thousandths quicker than Pabelli in P4, and Keith goes up into P5 in the Merc with a 27.584, so only a few hundreds slower than the guys ahead of him. And also, we've got Casti making his way towards the line, the driver I talked about last season, as he goes up into P6 then. So Casti is up here in 6th place. He does go well around here, the British GP, but not to be here in qualifying, although the gaps are quite minor as well, so expect a massive change. Chevio Orioglas, the Portuguese, is making his way now towards Cops Corner, and I really hope his day is better, because I know there was a blackout, I think, in his country, so hopefully that's sorted out right now as he makes his way now towards Magnussen Beckett. He goes Javier Orioglas, who used to race in Division 1 other seasons ago and in Division 2 last season. Now he's in here in Division 3. A driver who I must say regularly struggles, but his commitment every single week to turn up and take part is absolutely amazing. Well, he may have not the pace, but he's definitely good in terms of attendance as well. So massive respect to Javier Orioglas as he makes his way down towards the final 3 corners of this racetrack. This slow part of the race section here, it can be very difficult, especially because you're coming in hard, but at the same time your tyres are very hard too. A lot of energy into it as Javier Orioglas goes up into P11. As Lewis says in the chat, good evening, mate, how are you doing? Matty out on Lovefield then as he starts his flying lap in the Red Bull. Energy Dan is yet to set a lap time, but he is out there the circuit so far, headed through turn 1, turn 2, now going down towards turn 3. Let's see who takes it into third gear, but hesitant there as he turned out. Lost the back end of the car as he tries to get the loud pedal, but seems the rear of the car is moving around on him in those slow speed corners, so not an ideal opening lap for him, Energy Dan, as he completes the first sector with a 28.0. So not the first sector we've seen, but of course he made mistakes along the way.
Scani in the McLaren, he's also started on a lap, and he had a bit of a moment through the first sector, but he's down on his time by a few hundredths of a second. Let's see if he can find some time, because we know that his final sector was not very strong at all as he clocked the inside curb into that final chicane. So let's see. He doesn't have to gain too much as Matti goes quickest in the Red Bull, 127.2, and he's on pole now by quite a distance, because he's almost 2/10 clear of Ronnie, and that is a brilliant lap time for the Red Bull to put him at the front of the field so far with 9.5 minutes to go. But what about Scani though? We know he has a few tenths under his belt in that final sector, specifically Bessie Moment through Chapel now on the exit. The back end wanted to step out, and he's lost 3/10 of a second, and is he going to be able to gain that back in that final sector? He lost a little bit, but is 3/10 going to be enough? Definitely not going to be a huge improvement for the McLaren. He is going to continue on, being low on ERS now into the final chicane. Can he hit the hitbacks nicely? Now he does it much better. No moment on the exit as well. Much more stable through there, and he is going to cross the line. Scani does, and he improves to the fastest time, 27.160. Brilliant lap time, brilliant final sector, and despite being 3/10 down at the end of sector 2, he put it together, and he's on pole by half a 10.
Wow, nice lap time there as he finally hooked up. He's done 3 laps on those soft powered tyres, so expect more from the McLaren driver. What a blistering lap there for Scani, as I think Stian is up in the middle sector by a 10th as well. So let's keep on board with the kick south. Marcus Ericsson, I think, spun at the exit of Stowe back in 2015. And here comes Stian as he makes his way out of the final corner. He goes up into P1. It's a 27.129, and that clears him by over 300 of a second there. So 5 margins towards the top of the pecking order. But Scani has done that lap time on 3 lap old set of soft powered tyres plus extra fuel. So when the fuel load is light, new tyres, the car will be light as a feather. not literally, but you know what I mean, figuratively. But yeah, he'll have the best time overall later in the qualified session, as Ronnie is in P4 and Aston Martin. He's looping around Luffield right now. I love this track. I think it's a favourite track, it must be said. You can battle everywhere as well. It's good for other categories as well. I don't like this track on MotoGP. I don't think it suits the bikes. It's too much of an open track, too much of a wide track, so it doesn't really flow well for MotoGP, although we do see a few good battles now and then, of course. Obviously in the wet, a few years ago, we saw that drastic battle, we'll see that Celtic battle as well, all those years ago. But Ronnie in the middle sector, he's up by 2 and a bit tenths from the middle sector. This could put him onto pole. It all depends how much time he can find in towards the last few corners as we head down into Stone now. As you can see, just threading the throttle there, as he, I thought for 1 second, might go to pit lane. But here we go then towards the final 3 corners of this racetrack. It's all about keeping it nice and tidy. He's not really attacking these corners, but he's been very cautious, it must be said. And here he is towards the line, and that cautiousness puts himself into P3, so I think he needs to be a bit more aggressive, try and attack the corners, trying to get the throttle as quickly as he can, and he currently finds himself in 3rd place. Well, that's a good lap time from him.
Ooh, big moment there for Halver out in the final corner, and he's almost going to spin around into the gravel, and he was not really improved on his time by a few hundreds, but that has certainly not improved his time. He's 4 tenths down as he crossed the line. Big moment in the final sector, which seems to be quite difficult around this track for these drivers. But we've got 6.5 minutes to go. Pirelli into the pit lane. I just saw him finish his lap. He improved his time by 1.5 tenths, but was not able to improve his position. He's still P5, almost 3 tenths of a second of pole position. Speaking of 3 tenths of a second of pole position, his teammate, Mitch Van Der, I think he is not on a lap because he's got 100% ERS, so might be going back in pit lane. He's low on fuel as well, as Ronnie has now also backed off. So 6 minutes to go. Quite a few drivers still need to set a representative lap time. One of them is Energy Dan down in P12. He's back in pit lane. So it's going to be interesting to see if he is going to be able to put a lap together. His teammate, Keeves, down in P7. He's got some time to find as well. 4.5 tenths off right now. So both Mercedes have got a job to do, but I think they have already secured the constructors. But if they want to have any fight in the Drivers' Championship, they need to be higher up on the grid. Because Pirelli, they need to score a lot of points against Pirelli, because they're still 10-15 points behind, I think. As we now go into the final sector with the Alpine of Serge. He's down in P10 right now as Martin has joined the session. Jake Boy goes up to P9, setting the exact same lap time as Cassidy, 0.555 behind pole position. But look at the Alpine into the final sector. Only 1 corner to go, which is flat out. P11 improves up to P7 as we got 5 minutes remaining.
This qualifying session has absolutely flown by, and so far it's the Kickstarter of Stian who is on pole position now. Remember, he took pole back at the Las Vegas Grand Prix, but unfortunately got disqualified, and his race was ruined ever since then because Mitch Idea hit the wall out of turn 30, spun the car, and eventually ruined Stian's race there. It was a race to forget for the Kickstarter driver, even though he took a pole. So only 1 driver out there so far, well, 2 of them, but one of them is going to go back to the pit lane. The other one is Jake Boy, but I think, like you said, has already completed his lap time and he'll head back in the pit lane. Remember, Jake Boy was running in a podium contention place, but unfortunately he picked himself up a 10-second penalty at the Dutch GP, as ultimately he fell down the order and out of the podium pay positions there, because I remember him holding up Keith and Energy Dan, and when those two got past eventually, Pirelli was able to pull away, streak away, and comfortably finish his 2nd place without any problems whatsoever then, as it was Scani, Pirelli and Energy Dan. So Martin has joined the session here, and let's see what he does. Now, the last time he raced around here at the British GP, the owner, the admin, on his teammate at the time, Sonic Hawk, took him out, as it was a dismal race for him, because I think it was down at turn 2 where Martin got took out by his own teammate, and that happened twice as well in the racing bull, it must be said. It happened in the first race of the season in Division 2 at the Bahrain Grand Prix, and it happened again in Silverstone. So Martin's got some bad memories around here, and also good ones, in fact bad ones, because seasons ago he was having a big fight and he lost it out of the final corner and smashed the car up. Not on purpose, he just lost traction because it was super easy in the old games to lose traction. even as it is now, to be honest with you, but a bit harder back then. And he lost it in the final corner in second place and smashed the car and retired from the race as well. Here comes Keith then in the Mercedes, and let's see what he does at this track around here in Silverstone. He's coming towards Magnus and Beckett right now, and 7th gear we go threading the needle through here as we go down to 6th, still flat out as we lift off there, a bit of brake applied as well as we exit Chapel. It can be a bit of a difficult corner because you carry so much speed. And also, it's easy to just go out wide there, get caught up the curb on the outside. Here comes Keith. Keith was about 3/10 up in the sector. Can he continue this and try and take Paul away from first to second place? Ronnie, Stian, and other people are making their way out of the pit lane. But here comes Keith, ending his lap time. Around the final corner he goes. He goes up into P5 with a 27.272 there, and currently ahead of his championship rival of Pabelli. But where's Energy Dan? Still down in 14th place, so he's having a terrible time, and he's only got one more lap left to try and take pole.
Yeah, I was riding on board with him on his previous lap. He was on a lap as well. But into the final chicane, he absolutely clobbered the inside curb, and that ruined his lap time. So might have been a crucial mistake for Energy Dan in his championship fight. Because he now is, like you said, he's only got one lap remaining with 2 minutes to come. So the pressure is on for around second in the championship, chasing Pabelli. But 2 minutes to go. Stian has just started his flying lap. And let's see if he's going to be able to improve, because the top 4 is separated by under 1/10 of a second. So he absolutely needs to improve, and he does so. Through the first sector, already up by 7/100ths of a second. So a good start to his lap. Still 2 sectors to go as he runs out of Love as early on throttle as possible. Now flat out, runs a narrow line. Not cutting the track there on the inside. Now we go flat out through Cops Corner 7th gear. And on the exit, we'll head towards the SS Beckett's. Not very easy to get right on this game. You have to really touch his car in, and he cannot afford to cut the inside line too much. And he might actually get a slipstream there from his team, as he runs very nicely out of Beckett's and Chapel. And he will get a little bit of a slipstream, but not the ideal slipstream. But he's still up on his time by over 1/10 of a second. Now all into the final sector, where you can really make or break your lap, like we've seen earlier in this qualifying session. This final chicane can be quite tricky, but he's navigating it really well. And out of the final corner, Stian is going to cross the line. And how much is he going to improve? At 27.077, lost time in the final sector, and is unable to break into the 126s.
Good lap time there for Stian, as other people, Ronnie is down in the first sector by 9,000 of a second, but we've got a whole heat of cars heading towards the final corner. Pabelli has invalidated, but there's 35 seconds left to go in this session there, so one more lap time for Pabelli. There's an Alpine right behind us as he goes for his last flying lap. There's an Aston Martin. There's 3 cars together on the circuit. That's Mitch Idea, that's Jake Boy, and behind us is a Ferrari as well. So here comes Mitch Idea, he goes up into P5. The other person behind him was, I think, Mr. Wiggles, as he starts his last flying lap as McLaren comes across the line. That is Scani then. So every single driver is out there so far in the session, as Energy Dan might get a tow off the back of the RB, but he doesn't, and he's backed off in the sector there by 10 seconds. So something must have happened on his final lap, and unfortunately for Energy Dan, he will start down in 40th place, and that's qualifying red for him. But behind him is Keith. Let's see if Keith is on a flying lap. He heads back off into the pit lane as he's completed a lap time. Ronnie's crashed the exit of turn 2, I believe it is. But we're watching the kick saber now of Havlar. He's right behind his teammates, giving a slipstream. Here comes Havlar, getting a nice toe off there. Not quite sure what his middle sector was, but here he is then as he comes towards Stone right now into 5th gear, revving the car out as we use the company outside. Can Havlar get his second pole of the season as he makes his way now towards the final few corners there, just balancing the throttle, get on the throttle so his car is straight and is pointing in the right direction. He crosses the line now, only P11 for him, and that wasn't a good lap time whatsoever there, so not having good time around here at the British GP. But I think Pabelli is on a flying lap. Where is he? There he is. He's validated, and that's qualifying done for him. He'll start down in 8th place, but so far it's the advantage goes towards Keith.
Keeps in P6, but a disastrous qualifying in the end for Mercedes, especially for Energy Dan, as Jake Boy crosses the line. He goes up to the front row. What a lap in the end, as he misses out by 5/100ths of a second, but great improvement in the end to put him on the front row. Scani goes fastest, 1:27.033, and takes pole position away from Stian by 44 thousandths of a second. And I think that's the end then of qualifying out of nowhere. In the end, Scani takes it away, and our championship protagonists will start down in P7, P9, and P14.
What a fantastic lap time there for Scani to pull it out the bag at the very last minute, as the Dutchman has such good form as well. It's a shame he's missed a few races because he will definitely be up there. Ever since he returned back to league racing this season in Division 3, he's definitely shown his pace, and he's worked well with his teammates of Ellie as well, when they both used to be teammates, practicing with each other as well and helping each other. But unfortunately, Eddie's not here tonight because those two have a really good friendship when it comes to racing because they've known each other for such a long time. And I think Eddie was the one that brought Scani back to league race as well. But I'm going to go to the toilet, and hopefully we'll have a good race around here, around a 26-lap race.
Indeed, you can always expect a good race around Silverstone. Such a good track for racing over the years. Always great entertainment, and sure will be a great conclusion to this season SFR Div 3 with a championship fight on our hands. Brabelli leading the championship by 13 points towards Energy Dan, who will be starting down in P14, so he's got a lot of ground to make up, and he will have to hope for a miracle. Keys is still mathematically in the championship fight, but he is 25 points off the Haas driver, so he needs to win in order to still have a chance. But anything is possible, but he will need to have a lot of luck on his side. He needs that Brabelli have an absolute disastrous race. But we can now prepare ourselves for the season finale and look at these conditions. It is pouring it down around Silverstone, and that could throw things around. That could make things very, very interesting, because the pace we've just seen in qualifying won't matter at all, because the conditions are so much more different. So that opens up the opportunities for anyone. We will start on the intermediates, but well, a wet race for your season finale. I'm not sure about the rest of the weather forecast, if it will dry up at the end. Only time will tell. But the truth is, this is going to be an entertaining start in these unpredictable conditions. Scani, last race winner, took quite a comfortable victory in Zandvoort. Let's see what he can do around the British circuit. He will start on pole position with Stian right alongside him in the kick-out. Then the two Aston Martins covering the second row. Great qualifying session for them. Matti in P5 ahead of Mitrandir, who has got Keys right behind him. So will Mitrandir play a role in this race? Potentially help out his teammate, because he is one with the best placed car out of those three championship protagonists. We're already down in P9. Energy Dan down in P14. What can they do around this wet Silverstone circuit?
Yeah, of course, the British GP is known for its rain, but luckily, for the past month, it hasn't really been raining in the UK, so I'm glad to see that hasn't happened. But we are going to see the typical rain around here. And of course, last year at the British GP, it was raining midway through, which completely changed up the strategy as well and the order, with Russell struggling, Hamilton overtaking him, and Russell was out of the Grand Prix. And also Lando Norris going on the soft pod tyres when it wasn't the right choice at the time, as Verstappen took over, because Verstappen in the first stint was absolutely nowhere. Then all of a sudden, it started raining, he pitted at the right time, and also gained a lot of positions. He finished in P2 behind Lewis Hamilton, who took his 8th win around here in Silverstone. His last race win, of course, was at the British GP. Nope, tell a lie. It was at the Belgian Grand Prix when George Russell, I almost forgot about that, you know, but of course, the Belgian Grand Prix when Russell held up his teammate, but the car was underweight and therefore got disqualified from the race as well. Of course, back in 2018 was one of my favourites, because my favourite driver, Sebastian Vettel, won the British GP. I think it was it Hamilton who started the pole? I can't remember who started the pole on that day, but Hamilton got taken out of turn 3 by Kimi Raikkonen, and Vettel went on to win the Grand Prix as well. He overtook Bottas in towards Brooklands and went on to win. And Hamilton, despite getting taken out by a Ferrari towards turn 3, came back to finish in P2. Then obviously a race later where, as a Sebastian Vettel fan, it really still hurts. Oh, mate, honestly, when I was watching the 2018 German Grand Prix, I think I walked away. I was in... I'm going to admit it, I started crying when Sebastian Vettel hit the wall. When Sebastian Vettel hit the wall and crashed out. I remember I was in about 14, 15 as well, and Sebastian Vettel is was and is my favourite driver of all time since I was younger as well. So yeah, it was a very emotional day for me because Vettel was on pole. Hamilton broke his. Hamilton had a problem, I think, ran over the curbs, and it damaged his engine as well. So he retired in qualifying and started 14th, I think, and finished in first. While Sebastian Vettel hit the wall and was out of the Grand Prix. And it was Mercedes 1-2 as well, Hamilton, Bottas and Kimi Räikkönen as well. But yeah, it was a heartbreak for me that day. I didn't think I'd continue to watch the race after that. But a year later, in 2019, Vettel went from 20th to 2nd then, so that's what made me happy.
Yeah, some sort of revenge in the end, but not quite the win. Would have been a dream scenario if it went from last to first around that crazy German Grand Prix back in 2019. One of the craziest races in recent history. Sure want to watch, but who knows? You might see one of the craziest races today. And with this season finale at the end of this formation lap, and it's time to line up on the grid with Scani on pole position. Can he go for back-to-back victories? Well, not if you line up in your grid position like that, because he overshoots it and instead of quarterback. So is Stian, by the way. So can always be tricky lining up for the grid. But it's time to get ready for the season finale here at Silverstone.
The top two have been disqualified, but they're pushed back a few metres. Will Jake Boy get the advantage? Who knows what will happen towards turn 1 around here at the West British GP? It will dry up later on the Grand Prix as well. So it's all about surviving in the first few laps of these wet conditions. But the lights are about to go away for the final race here in Division 3. The lights are away. It's an amazing start from Scani. He maintains the lead. Bit of wheel spin there for Stian in the background. There's Matti alongside the two Aston Martin drivers as one of them is backed up heavily and he's been compromised as he gets pushed down the order. That's Ronnie there who got swamped by a few guys behind as Matti now is up into P4 in the Red Bulls. Great start for him as he settles behind the top three then as they all squirm away for traction there. Havlor gets ahead of Serge as Ronnie's going around the outside and Cassidy going side by side in towards the loop. Turn 4 and turn 5. Let's see which one of these two gets ahead, and so far it's Ronnie who gets on the curve on the outside, but Matty's right behind, now ahead. He puts himself into P3, so what a fantastic start for the Red Bull driver. His teammate, however, Cassidy, is making progress. It's up into P6, but Ronnie is trying to hang around the outside, but Cassidy's well ahead as we go through Brooklands and look where we go. In the background, that's Martin who has gone for a spin. Unfortunately, he's down into 15th place and gone for a spin once again as Mr. Wiggles is right behind Papelli then, so Martin had a torrid time as Havlar and Mitch Idea about to go wheel to wheel in towards Cops, but Mitch Idea just backs off and further ahead. There's a few cars almost off the road, and that is Ronnie Papelli going out wide there. Crucial moment for Papelli as he doesn't want to lose the car in this championship fight. But Ronnie, however, is struggling in Magazine Beckett. He can't find a rhythm here. He's all over the road, but luckily he has the next corner, and here comes Cassidy right behind. Keep not on the outside there. There's not enough space to go around the outside there. Reminiscent of somebody trying to do that all those years ago, but unfortunately can't do so as Mr. Wiggles gets past Ronnie once again, side by side in towards Stowe we go. Can Ronnie there try and stick on the outside? He can't as Mr. Wiggles is through, so Ronnie has had a dreadful time, been overtaken by a Sabo Havlar who's up the inside, almost out of shape, in towards Club Vale, and look at that, Ferrari gets out of shape now, in towards the final corner we go, but Mr. Wiggles surely stays ahead, but he's leaving a space there around the outside for Havlar. Now they're going side by side as we head down towards turn 1 we go. It's super close, super fine margin between the top two here as Havlar just gets ahead, but Mr. Wiggles will have the inside line in towards the next corner, but Havlar a bit late to the brakes, goes all the way around the outside in towards turn 3, has turn 4 for the inside line, but Mr. Wiggles is still there on the outside. Now Havlar has got the place. What a fantastic scrap between those two. Nice wheel to action and gave each other enough space.
What an opening lap, treacherous conditions here, and everyone is searching for grip in these opening stages. But a really poor start there from Ronnie. It was already slow off the line at the start there, already lost a position or two, and now into the remainder of the first lap lost even more position down to P10 from the second row on the grid. As look at Keeves, he's right behind the other Aston Martin, a little bit of a gap forming between the top three and Jake Boy in P4 in the Aston Martin, 1.4 seconds. As we look at Probelli, our championship leader, he's made up 2 places from the start. He's up to P7. Our Energy Dan still down in P12, also made up 2 places, but he's in traffic, and crucially he's behind the teammate of Probelli. So don't think it's going to be very easy to get past. Vitron Deers also looking at the back there of Ronnie, trying to find a way past, but unable to do so. And Energy Dan is right behind the Haas. And is he going to try and find a way past already at the end of the second lap? He's closing the gap. Not quite close enough to go for the move as Ronnie runs slightly deep into Stowe, but Mitchell has to stay behind for now as we're near the end of the second lap. And Anjudan still looking at the back of the Haas there. So going on to lap 3, Scani still out there in the lead. With the fastest lap goes to Matty as Jake Boy in P4. 1.3 seconds. It's a 3-way fight right now at the front end, but we know it might dry up in this race, so things could shift around with different setups. Some drivers opting for a wet setup, while others might be using a dry setup, who get the advantage later on. As Mitrodier running, and Anjudan spun around in Village. Did he make contact? Did he lose it on his own? Didn't quite catch that, but the man second in the championship has had a horrendous for opening stage in this race. He's down to P14 again, and a few seconds down the road.
Yeah, I caught it. So he spun by himself, just locked the rear up, and it went spinning around, unfortunately. So the rear over to the front, as Stian is right behind Scani then. Stian versus Scani. Stian's had about 2 wins this season. In fact, I don't think he has had a win yet this season. He has had 1 race win, and that was at the very beginning of the season, back at the Hungarian Grand Prix. Scani's had 3 wins. And Matty, however, is looking like he's a real contender, because he made up quite a few places to start the Grand Prix. Now he's right behind the top 2. Looks to try to take away first and second there. So he's looking really comfortable so far, P3. However, Scani is under massive pressure in these conditions. Intermediate conditions, so not as bad as wet conditions. I like the inters in comparison to wet because there's more grip, I think. Then, obviously, because in the inters, it's like standing water, and in the wet conditions, it's just so difficult to get the traction on. Here comes Keith around the outside in towards Stowe, and Matty Cassidy right behind him as well in the Aston Martin, but can't get past. But now gets a good run out of Stowe in towards, there we go. It is not looking down the inside so far for the time being, stays behind there. So, lap 3 of the Grand Prix, DRS would have been enabled by now, but lap 2 of course, but it is wet conditions, so we can't enable DRS. Keith now has set the fast up the Grand Prix. Here comes the Red Bull in the background. That is Cassidy going side by side with J-Boy in towards 1 we go, and he has the inside line, and he takes away P5. Yes, he does. What a great move there for Cassidy. Got a good run around the outside and had to go up into P5. But yeah, Cassidy is also one making ground, as in the background there's Pabelli under massive pressure from Havlar as well. So let's see if Havlar goes around the outside of his Norwegian compatriot. Here's Mr. Wiggles. That's 2 of them, is it? Yes, it is. It's 2 for 1. It gets on the curb, and they both off the track there, Pabelli and the kick Sauber. Now Mr. Wiggles sells his P8, but puts the pressure on Pabelli right in front of him. This is a fantastic tussle between all these 3 guys here.
Great fighting here in the midfield. We're on lap 40. Aston Martins falling behind there. A great forming qualifying second row. P3 and P4, but at the moment down in P6 and P11. And Jake Boy is already a second behind both Cassidy and Keys, who have been released into clean air to potentially try and close the gap towards the top 3. Now there's a train forming behind Jake Boy. It's Pabelli, Mr. Wiggles, Havor and Mitrandir, all trying to find a way past. Havor already close to the back of Mr. Wiggles. So we make our way through the maggots and backets, the S's, and about. And Pabelli is around 0.6 of a second behind, as Matty is also very close now to the back of Stian, but it's not quite going to go for the move just yet. But the top 3 very close to each other right now, as Mr. Biggles also closing the gap towards Pabelli. Bit of a moment there on the exit there for Outlaw, as the rear end wanting to step out mid-corner. But he keeps his car under control for the time being. Still got a long way to go in this race. Have to be careful with the tires, but I think the track seems to be improving, or the weather conditions at least. But we are still sitting fastest laps there on lap 5. So the pace is definitely there, and you might be going towards dry conditions in, well, quite a few laps. It's still raining at the moment. But you could get on to dries later on in this race. So it's all about keeping the tires intact at this stage. Don't overheat the rear end, because it's very easy to do that in these wet conditions. So they have to be careful of that, as Michael Wiggles once again very close to the back of Pabelli last lap. Tried to go for it, but he had to cut the inside track. But at the moment unable to get past still now, as Pabelli successfully defends. But it's a big train forming now behind Jake for 1.7 seconds, as Cassidy and Keeves running together, and they are closing the gap, not quite, around the same towards the top 3. We're on lap 5. That's everybody still looking at the back of Jake Boy, but he's still in the best position championship wise, because Keeves only in P4 won't not be enough, because Keeves knows he has to win this race with Pirelli outside the points at the moment. The Haas driver is doing just enough.
Melissa is in the chat supporting her man on. Of course, Melissa, a Keith's partner, as we see him under massive pressure from Cassidy right behind. Cassidy pulls out the back of Keith, going side by side as we head down towards Stowe. It's the inside line, is it? Red Bull versus the Mercedes as Keith trying to hang around the outside. Cassidy gets out of shape and Keith stays into P4. But they're still side by side as we head down to Belmigoro Club. As it looks like Keith just gets ahead of Cassidy for the time being. Then puts the Mercedes still in P4, but losing a lot of time towards the top three. The top three have streaked away as Stian has set the fast of the Grand Prix. I wonder what stage is it going to drive towards? What stage of the Grand Prix is going to dry up, because if it dries up right now, these guys might go on the hard compound tyre. But I think the usual strategy is soft, medium, or medium to soft. I do think you can get away with that strategy around here as well, unlike other tracks. As we see Mr. Wiggles then taking different lines, try and get a better exit there at the Haas driver there, trying to go under and over. As we exit turn 4, turn 5, we go through the loop, now onto the Hanger straight, or is it Wellington straight? I'm not quite sure. As we head down towards Brooklands, he takes the inside line, doesn't brake later, and here comes the kick Sauber, who might go on the outside, but doesn't have the grip to do so, and stays behind him. So yes, I do get confused which one's which. Which is the Hanger straight and which one's the Wellington straight? I don't know why, but every single time I commentate for the British GP, I can't seem to remember what is the Hangerton. Don't know why I keep saying that either. Hanger or Wellington straight.
The Hanger straight is the one in Sector 3, if you I can't remember, but yeah, that is it. And the Wellington straight in Sector 2. Hopefully there is some sort of thing where you can see the difference. I guess with the bridge, maybe you represents a hanger of some sort. I can't remember it like that, but we're on lap 6. Scanny's still out in front since the start of this race. He's been in control so far, but he has got Stian and Matty both. Company, the gap has now grown towards Keith because of that battle between Keith and Cassidy. Is still trying to find a way past, but he is going to have to go along around the outside. That is not quite going to work out, as Provelli is also having half a look on Jake Boy. He runs slightly deep into the chicane. And they are very close to each other with Havor and Mitrondir as well. Look at this train of cars, nose to tail, as Cassidy now setting the fastest lap of the race, 140.4. Fastest man off track right now. Jake Boy still holding on to his P6, surprisingly, with the pressure put on him through the cars behind Pabelli. At the moment, not really aggressive, not really forcing an overtake. You have to be careful right now, but Mr. Wiggles certainly is, because he's once again looking very close to the back. Is he going to go for the switchback on the exit? Oh, Mr. Wiggles, as they go wheel to wheel once again, just like 2 laps ago, and once again he has to cut the inside track. And once again, Berbelli is able to stay ahead, but Mr. Wiggles desperately trying to find a way past the Haasman, but unable to do so. And now Havlor is looking at the back of the Ferrari, but neither can he find a way past. But Mr. Wiggles has been all over the back of Berbelli in this race so far, but still can't quite find a way past. Berbelli is put on a lot of pressure, but he's keeping his cool and is still following the Aston Martin just ahead of him.
Utkarsh said he's glad he's not racing now because of the wet conditions, as he usually is a driver out here, but I think he's got other commitments. But Stian is still pressuring Scotty. Now I wonder, in these corners, you can see the clear difference of downforce setups here, because it looks like Scotty has got better straight line speed than the Sauber driver. Sauber is not able to get anywhere close on the straight, so the setup for Scotty must be adjusted to low downforce, while Stian has the cornering speed there. So that could pay dividends in the race later on if Scotty, well, if they're on the dry compound tyres and Scotty has less downforce and able to strike away on the straight if Stan and Matteo and DRS there. So the top three then pulling away from the rest of the field, whilst Keith is left alone with Cassidy, who's losing a bit of time towards him as well. As Stian once again sets fast up for Grand Prix. It says 39.6 for the kick Sauber, so that tells you the conditions get better and the lights up as well. Not as bad as it was before, as there is a bit of grip out there on the circuit, but obviously not yet to the dry conditions. That will happen much later in the Grand Prix. But Scotty almost lost it out of turn 2. You can see the back of the car just skating away, but he saves it and continues to live for another day, as Stian is right behind once again. But where can the Sauber driver powers? Because if Scotty's got better straight line speed, what's he going to do? Try and force him into a mistake in towards the corners like he just did a few laps ago, or a few corners ago. As we now head into Brooklands and Luffield, you can see that Stian has more confidence, he's able to get the power quicker, carry more speed, and Scotty's a bit twitchy on the exit there of Stavolo, as we now head towards Woodcote. Stavolo, sorry, look, don't know why I said that, that is Luffield. But now head up towards Cops we go. Let's see then what happens between these two. Nothing much really, but yeah, he's just been stuck in P2 for George de Grand Prix, not able to progress forwards there. Where is the best place for him to strike, I wonder?
Well, with the straight line speed advantage of Scani, he's going to have to get really close to the back through the S's, but as you can see, he doesn't quite get the exit out of Chapel, which means that he is not close enough to be really tucked into the slipstream to try and go for the move. He's now 0.4 of a second behind once again. He really needs to work on the exit, and then he might be able to get his car alongside and try it round the outside with the downforce advantage. At the moment, he's still stuck behind in P5. Speaking of stuck behind, Probelli ever still behind the Aston Martin of Jake Boy, and Cassidy has lost quite a bit of time. So I wonder if he did make a mistake. He's 1.7 seconds now behind Keith Sebastian. As Probelli now sitting the fastest lap of the race. So he's the fastest man on track, but he's still stuck behind the Aston Martin of Jake Boy. A little bit of a gap now towards Mr. Wiggles and Havro as well. As the gap's slowly starting to form with from there, also 9/10 of a second behind us. Speaking of big gaps, Energy Dan down in P13, he's 10 seconds behind the cars in front. He's really struggling as he almost goes off through what turns 1 and 2 as well. His championship hopes are surely starting to fade, at least in these wet conditions. He is going to have to hope for a safety car and then try and fight back in dry conditions. At the moment, he is absolutely nowhere in this race and has no chance of fighting for the championship. Scanny now still in the lead of this race, got 4.5 tenths as we go towards Cops Corner. Look at the closing speed there of Stian on the apex, down to 4 tenths now, but he needs to get a good run through Maggots, Backus and Chapel.
One second. Here comes Probelli. He's overtaking J-Boy, and that's a lovely move because J-Boy ran wide out of Cops. He carried up his speed, went off the track. Probelli got a decent run and overtook him. He was up into P6 now, so great move there for Probelli. Probelli capitalised up to P6, back to you, Milan.
Out the fight at the front. Great move from Probelli as he is now in clean air some sort, but he's got 1.2 seconds toward Cassidy, but Stian still unable to go for the move as we see Jeffrey Urglass getting around the outside there of Ronnie. And Ronnie really struggling on race pace as Havro and Mr. Wiggles swap around as well. Mr. Wiggles now down to P9, and I do wonder, has he asked too much of the tires by fighting so much, as now fast lap race goes towards Keith. As Probelli is already closed the gap to under a second towards Cassidy. So could he potentially now try and charge to the front of the field, because the gaps really aren't that big, because Keith is still within 1.5 seconds of Matty, and once Probelli clears that ripple of Cassidy, who I think is really gone through his tires, because he is struggling all over the place in the gap towards the train of Jake Boy, shrunk to around the second half, and in 1 lap time Probelli has completely closed the gap, and he's going to try and fight past already, as he's really close. Havro gets past Jake Boy as well, drops down to P9. The Sauber up into P, and here comes Probelli. He's going to have to go around the outside of Loffield, and with ease gets past the Red Bull on the exit. Still has his nose alongside, but Probelli's up into P5. But he's got 5 seconds towards the top 4 now.
What a bold move around the outside for Probelli. He's on a charge. He usually thrives in late race conditions, as Stian is right behind Scani once again. Scani has done a mega job to defend against Stian, as Matty has been sat at P3. Just a bit ominous there, but at the same time, it's a bit difficult to overtake in these conditions, especially in the DRS train or a slipstream train, as they're right behind each other in these conditions. And in the background, Keith is there in P4. He's 1.9 away. Ever since he's shaking the threat away from Cassidy, because Cassidy's lost a lot of pace, and as you said, as he chewed up his tyres way too early, he was right behind Keith and put him under massive pressure. I'm not quite sure if the Red Bull driver sustained any damage with Keith, because I looked at his front wing, and the front wing seems to be intact still. The end plates are still there. Scani, Matty now says the quickest lap time of the race, still in P3. The Red Bull driver's got some mega pace, but for the past 11 laps, it's been moving absolutely nowhere, and look to the rear wing of the unleashed Kick Sauber in P2. I can't wait to see that livery gone, by the way. But it goes to Audi in 2026, of course, as we now go towards these slow speed corners. But Keith is still there in P4. The gap is 1.8 seconds between himself and Matty. Is there a chance for him to catch up? And as you can see, the top 3 there, moving left to right, as Scani wants to break the slipstream away from Stian as we pull over to the back of the right side. There is a bump there too, to be fair, in the middle of the race circuit. That's when the esports driver take the left hand side and avoid the bump there in the middle. Keith is 2 seconds back, so not able to try and get closer, but Probelli is 5 seconds away, so I don't think he's really catching Keith, is he? I didn't quite keep an eye on what the gap was before Cassidy got overtaken by Probelli, but the gap is 5 seconds there, so let's use that for a reference. But we are 11 laps into this race still, and the top 3 are in close contention of each other. Keith has dropped backwards just a bit, 2.6 now, so he must have made a mistake somewhere in that middle sector. But yes, so far it's the top 3 leading the way. The Norwegian versus the Dutchman versus the Norwegian. No, the Norwegian versus the Dutchman versus the Brits. And I think you know which one I'm supporting. Now, joking, I'm unbiased. But anyways, I think somebody spun out of the field. That was Serge. He's gone for a spin, and he rejoins down in P15 then. So horrendous time there for the RP driver as Mitch Idea gets past Jake Boy. As Jake Boy, in this Grand Prix, has gone backwards, unfortunately, every single lap. Started in P3, but it doesn't seem that the wet conditions are really his favourite thing around here. So, unfortunately, he's dropping backwards after a fantastic qualifying. Maybe it's his race setup or he's just struggling in general. But Matty then is right behind Stian as we now head through turn 1 and turn 2. Is there any way for Matty to get past these two? Because the only best way for him to get past these two if one of these guys make a mistake, but that doesn't seem to be happening so far. They're keeping it on the road, making no mistakes, and if they are making mistakes, it's only little ones, like losing the rear end or something like that, but they're keeping it on the tarmac and they're doing a really good job so far. Scotty then once again breaks the slipstream away from Stian as we head down to Brooklyn once again. Goes a bit wide in towards Brooklyn, and that influences Stian to get closer and closer. Now he's all at the back of him, but he's still in the middle of the road there, not able to go on the inside or outside there. So there's been a few attempts from Stian, but can't get close enough in the breaker zones.
And Scanis really seems to be strong on exit of the corners, as we just see out of Luffield as well. Stian was right at the back, mid-corner, but on the exit, Stian drove away by 2 or 3 tenths of a second, and that is really helping him. Because he's not got the advantage through the corners, but he's on the exit and he's got the straight line speed advantage. It's just near enough impossible for Stream to try and find a way past, but a bit of a moment once again for Scanny out of Chapel. But the gap is 3 tenths of a second, and Stian is also very low on ERS, so he's not going to try and find a way past at this moment. As Matty, he is underfueled the car, as you can see on the icon on the bottom of the screen, but he's got a full battery. But at the moment he doesn't seem to be wanting to find a way past unless the 2 cars in front of him make some sort of mistake. Keeps now back to 2 seconds as Jake Boy losing out another position. Like you said, 2 Aston Martins started P3 and P4 and now find themselves both outside the top 10 in P11 and P12. But Keeves, I think he is closing the gap. The gap was around 2.6 last lap, now it's 1.8, 1.9. And Probelli, despite now being in clean air, is unable to close the gap. So he must have asked a little bit too much from his tires being in dirty air for the majority of this race. The gap is around 5.5 seconds now. But he knows as long as Keys doesn't win and Probelli finishes inside the points, he will still be crowned world champion. So not a really big concern for him right now. But Scanny, once again, is able to stay in front of Stian as we're halfway through this race. And rain still out there. I think it's getting a bit lighter now, but a moment on the exit for Scanny, and is Stian finally trying to find a way past. He's going to have to use the ERS a lot here, but so does Scanny, and bit of a lag spike I think, and now they're once wheel to wheel going into Cobb's corner. The Sabre on the inside is going to get past Scanny, and Stian finally is going to take the lead of this race, albeit due to some internet issues there for the McLaren I think, but Stian now finds himself in the lead of this race, and can he try and build a gap towards the McLaren?
But I'll say one mistake's all it takes, and now Scanny has fallen back into P2. You can really see him struggling there. But I fear, because these people are expected the way to stop at any moment. Here he is with that straight line speed. He's back around the outside. In towards Stowe we go. Does he have the grip around the outside? Because the tyres must be tuned up at this point. He's losing traction as he almost has a moment out of the final. Out to Stowe we go. Or Cops, sorry. Now I'm getting confused now. Between Stowe and Cops, what is going on today? But apologies about this. But guess who's getting closer? Keith. The gap is 1 second in between himself and Matty here, so the gap is decreasing between 4th and 3rd place. There's been a change in leadership, finally been a change, because there's 14 laps in and the lead has changed for the first time in this Grand Prix ever since Scanny taking pole on lap 1. Now stands in the lead. Can he control it? As Scanny does have the pace to try and keep up. But here he is, up the inside, in towards turn 3 we go. Oh, the door's shut. The door is firmly shut. Ooh. And Matty, will he try to take advantage now? Keep as he's out of shape going in towards turn 4, turn 5. He does. Matty's up into P2 there. So, what was the reason behind this then? So, what do you think, Milan? Did Stian have to give him space there, or was it fair enough?
It is really hard racing as we're looking at Scanny trying to find a way past back around Matty, but he's unable to do so with the tires. But it was a hard race, maybe a little bit too harsh, but well, in these conditions it is really difficult. But Scanny, as a result of that, has now dropped down to P3, so I'm sure he's got an opinion on that. But Stian now out in front, and he's building a 1.1 second gap. It's all that he needs, and he's now cleared Matty and Scanny and Keeves. He's down under 1 second towards Scanny, so it's really closed that gap and putting himself in the fight for the race win, which is what he needs in this race with 5.7 seconds. Towards Pirelli was still very much in a safe P5. Yellow flags are out in the background. I think Ronnie had a little bit of a moment in the Aston Martin through Cobb's corner. He's down in P12. And the Aston Martin's really, really strong. It's really a shame to see because they were so strong in qualifying.
Sorry.
Mitch Van Der is in the gravel at Stowe, and the Haas driver is dropping outside the top 10.
I'm concerned about one thing. Are these drivers close towards punch territory? Because the lifespan on these inters are not really that great, and because Mr. Wiggles is right behind. I've seen scenarios before where it goes from wet to dry, and sometimes when it takes a bit long to try and dry up, especially on a circuit like this, as Mr. Biggles almost lost it at turn 2, when it takes a bit of long to dry up, we have to extend the life on those inters, and we get close towards punch territory as well. We saw that with, I think, Pocket Valet guy back in Division 1 at the Dutch GP. But yes, the rain has stopped, but we won't pit immediately because it's too early to do so. So I wonder if that people might be struggling in the intermediates as they get older and older, as we've got a few people in the pit lane. That's Energy Dan and Mitch O'Dear. This could be good news for Keith because they're both in the party together, I think. They work well together. So is Energy Dan a bit of a sacrificial lamb despite being in P2 in the championship? Is he going to give up this race for Keith to try and get the best possible result there and give him information how the soccer parties are doing? And same with Mitch O'Dear as well for P13 because his teammate is Pabelli. What have you seen?
Well, Energy Dan out of the pit lane on throttle and went straight off the track and into the grass. So the tires are cold, of course, but he also is really struggling with the grip. So it might have been a lap too early, as Serge has done the exact same on pit exit, and he's spun around on the soft. So at the moment, I think intermediates might still be the quicker tire. Because both Energy Dan and Serge have had their moments on their out laps, as Scani is going to pull into the pit lane. He is going to gamble and he is going to try and go onto the slick compound tire, but I think it might still be too early. Stian sets the fastest lap of the race on the intermediates, as Scani at the moment still the only one going into the pit lane. No, Cassidy is as well in the Red Bull. So let's see how Scani is going to tackle these conditions on the slicks, as Mitchell Deer, Energy Dan are out there on slicks, and I think the grip is slowly getting towards. Oh, and that is really unfortunate for Ronnie, as he picks up a 10-second time penalty for speeding in the pit lane, and he's also doing a double stack with his teammate, so he will lose even more time with that. But Scani now out of pit lane, have to be careful because we have seen drivers going off on pit exit. So let's take a look at the McLaren as we go into turn 2 and 3. The grip starting to get there, but I wonder if it's still quick as yellow flags are out, and that is Cassidy, who I think got reset the track because he might have spun in pit lane, and he's also got damage to both of his end plates are gone, and that is well, dramatic there for Cassidy. Front wing damage, spun around, and his good race has become undone.
So is this the perfect time to pit for everybody then? The gap looks like I think it's still inters. It's just on the verge of inters sauce there. The crossover point is going to happen soon, but I think the intermediate tyre is still the best tyre, even though the track is improving rapidly and evolving too. We've got somebody off in the background. Here comes Matty for the leader of the Grand Prix as he stays behind Stian then. Was that the wrong time to pit for Scani? But here comes Matty and Stian goes out wide. It's a race in the pit lane and he backs off. Stian's backed off there as they're both in the pit lane then. Slow the car down towards 60 kilometers an hour as they do, as Keith has stayed out there very interestingly as well, so he believes that this is the tyre to still be on around here. Matty has set the fast up the Grand Prix in the pit lane. How? He set the fast up in the pit lane. Never seen that one before.
That is quite impressive, but like you said, Keys is continuing on the intermediates, and he's not the only one because Havor is doing the same thing. Let's take a look at where Matty and Stian are going to come out compared to Scani, who pitted one lap ago. He's making his way now onto the Hamilton straight out of the final corner. Is he going to be behind both Stian and Matty? I think he is. Matty with a big moment there on the pit exit. Here comes Scani. He's going to have to warm the tires, but he is going to be behind, so he hasn't lost too much time actually with that pit stop. With the warm tires, can he try and find a way past Stian immediately, who will be struggling? Big moment there for Scani. Someone's off there. That's the Alpine Surge, I think, who's gone off in the first sector, as Cassidy has retired in pit lane. Very unfortunate, that first retirement after that moment on pit exit. Red Bull driver is out of this race, unfortunately, but Scani is 3 tenths behind Stian and Matty now. in a virtual race lead, but runs way too deep there into Lovefield, really struggling with the grip on the exit, and the gap he just got for around 1 second has shrunk to around a few tenths, as Scani is dropping behind as well, but Steven is all over the back of the Red Bull, and is going to try and find a way past further down this lap, as Matti is not run wide to keep it within the track limits, and I'm sure Keeves and Haver will both putting into the pit lane at the end of this lap, because I think the slicks will be quicker. And here comes the Mercedes. He needs to keep his speed limit in check. The last thing he affords is a 10-second tap, and he does so. Mercedes into the pit lane, and so is Havler, but Matti remains in front of Stian, as Scani has dropped down a few tenths of a second, but Matti now into the virtual race lead.
He is indeed then, as they continue to struggle. We can see these guys still struggling because the track is still slippy, meaning that these guys got to keep on the road as much as they can, try and get the tyres up to temperature. Ronnie has got a 3-second tap. You can see these guys are still hesitant as Keith will exit the pit lane. So here we go then. It is lap 18 out of 26. Here comes Keith out of the pit lane, but I think he'll get jumped by these guys, or maybe one of them. Here we go then. Keith is out the pit lane right now. Where will he join? Behind Scani there. So not too far behind. What's happened to Stian? Oh, he's spun in the gravel. Yeah. Oh dear, what a shame for Stian there. Unfortunately, spins the gravel, has lost its end plate and rejoins in the path for Mr. Wiggles there. He won't be delighted by that one, of course. But now, this promotes Keith. Keith is on the podium in P3. Can you believe it? It's not enough for the championship. But what it is enough for is to overtake his teammate in the championship as Mr. Wiggles almost spun the car in towards turn 2 and turn 3. He just saved it by the skin of his teeth there. And he continues to get going once again. What a shame for Stian, because he just got past Scani. He spent most of the race in his rear wing, and now he's made a big mistake in the final corner and lost all those places. So the order is Matti, Scani and Keith, but they're separated, and none of them are in a DRS chain of each other either. So Mr. Wiggles is going to win. I can feel it. I did say that. Fabulous did.
That is going to be difficult from P6, but you never know, as yellow flags are out once again. Not sure who it was, might have been Ronnie once again. He's down in P11, but Stian, of course, runs off track. He's got that front wing damage, and missing an entire bit of his front wing. Very unfortunate. Didn't see what happened to the Sauber, but out of the final corner, must have hit the inside curb there and then sent himself into the outside wall as Mitron picks up a 3-second time penalty. So Serge is really struggling. He's a lap down to everyone now down in P14, but Matti with the fast lap race. Look at the gap he's got, 2.5 seconds towards Scani. Is really quick at this stage of the race. Keeps in P3, 1.8 behind, and then at Havlor in P4, but he has got Purbelli for company as we go on to lap 19 of 26. 8 laps to go, and Purbelli is looking to gain another position, but he lifts through turn 1, so taking it quite careful there, which loses him quite a few tenths of a second. But I don't know if DRS has been enabled so far. I haven't seen that. Yeah, I haven't seen the notification just yet. Let's see if Purbelli of DRS. Yeah, there we go. So DRS now enabled on lap 19, and Purbelli, he is too far back to fight away past, but with DRS now enabled, he could really have an opportunity to get past him later on in this lap.
Yeah, I was just thinking that as well, because when I went up over Purbelli, who's behind Havlor, we went down the hangar or Ability Straight, whatever it's called. I don't know what it's called. I've never been good. For some reason, at my home Grand Prix at the British GP, I've never been good with corner names. Anywhere else, like any track, even tracks that are not in F1, I still remember the corner names. But here, my memory's absolutely blank. You would have thought, as a Brit and as a big F1 fan and as a commentator, you know all the corner numbers and names, well, corner names, but I just don't. I don't know why that is, but massive moment out for Havlor out of Magnus and Beckett, and Purbelli is on the back of him. Purbelli had to watch out, because if Havlor spun, Purbelli would have hit him and therefore lost his airplane, but I don't think he would have done much for the championship, because Energy Dan is down in P12. Purbelli is up into P4. So, Keith P3 the championship, and Purbelli's first place in the championship, as Keith now sets the quickest laps of the Grand Prix. What would it be an end for Keith in the championship to finish in P3 at the British GP at his home Grand Prix? And guess what? He's catching Scani. The gap's gone down quite a lot, actually. The gap is 7/10 of a second as well. And Scani is catching Matti. So could it be a three-way fight again for first, second and third? But this time, the man in third place is not Stian. It's Keith in P3, so could there be a chance for a win for Keith potentially as well? What a great way to end the championship for Keith, who could get up to P2 in the championship at the end of this Grand Prix as well, as he's putting mega pressure on Scani in front of him. So it's not over yet, Melissa. Watch this race, 6 laps left to go. Can Keith get a win?
Shaping up to be a three-way fight between Matti, Scani and Keith, and Scani actually got around 1 second to Matty, but he lost a lot of time in that first sector, which dropped him all the way down to, wow, almost 2 seconds. See Raz a moment there through Cobb's corner, hitting the inside curb, and which unsettled the rear of the car. Now he's got 2 seconds again towards Matty, and keeps his all over the back of the McLaren, really close, and he's going to try and find a way past onto the hangar straight, but will go slightly wide there for Scani. DRS will open for the Mercedes, but we know that the McLaren is quick in a straight line, and you can see it right there as Keeves deploys some ERS, but is unable to get past for now as we go into Stowe, as Scani is able to stay in front in P2 as TV Urglas. He's having a good race, to be honest, as he goes wheels to wheel with Mr. Wiggles on the exit of Chapel. Normally you don't see an overtake round there, but Mr. Wiggles pulls it off regardless. Great move there, put himself back into P6 as Matty sets the fastest lap of the race, 1:32.1, and he's got 2 seconds now towards Scani, so he's actually gained almost a full second on the McLaren on the last lap. So must have been a mistake there for Matty 2 laps ago, which brought the gap back down. But Scani and Keeves fighting it out for second place. But Keeves is around 7/10 of a second behind. But Havlor is all over the back for Belly. So these two are fighting it out for P4 as well. And it's going to be very easy for Belly to finish in P4. Because the Kicksauber is right behind. But the Haas with the better exit got around 4 or 5/10 of a second. Which means Havlor is not going to be close enough to try and perform an overtake. But then he is going to have to stay in P5 for now. But we've got 5 laps to go in this race. The gap at the front is 1.8. Can Scani and Keeves close the gap and make it a 3-way fight for the race win? Or will it just be a fight for second place?
This race is so interesting because Keith, championship contender in P3, looks to try to take P2 because there's 12 points in between Keith and Energy Dan. I think Keith should leapfrog Energy Dan in the championship. I'm not quite sure, don't quote me on that just yet. And you can see the gap going down between Scani and Matty. The most important thing for Matty is to keep that gap over a second, because we know Scani's got some mega straight line speed, but Matty seems to pull away the corners, and off the track goes Scani as Serge has retired in the pool. Oh my goodness me. So basically there was a lag spike there, and Scani was teleported backwards in towards Keith, and Keith hit the back of him, but luckily he was a ghost at the time. As we see, Keith now sets the fast up the Grand Prix, but the problem is he's stuck behind Scani, who seems to be struggling in the corners. It goes off the track now and then, in towards Cops, in towards Stowe, as he seems to be losing a little bit of time as well towards Matty. The gap is 1.5 now, but can Keith somehow find a way past Scani here as we exit turn 4, turn 5 in 4th gear, as now the DRS is enabled. I don't think Keith is really good at getting good exits, because you can see him in 4th gear there. Usually you want to be in 3rd gear, then it'll get to 4th, because he got bogged down a little bit out of turn 4, turn 5. So heavy traction zone indeed. So I think he's in high gears a bit too much as he wants to be in the low gears. Obviously from 3rd to 4th upshift, but as we enter out the exit of Luffield, he's right behind him. Scani is almost a DRS range of Matty. The problem is too, if Scani gets a DRS range of Matty, it's even more of a problem for Keith. He's stuck there in P3, plus the straight line speed benefit from Scani, who seems to exploit the track limits once again, and he's right behind him once again is Keith. Looking to pounce, looking to take the pressure on every single corner. It's crucial for Scani, because one big mistake has a big consequence, as Keith is right at the back of him. As we exit Chapel once again, DRS enabled, the battery will be used, as looks like Keith just can't seem to get close towards him.
No, he's not really gaining time at all, even with DRS. The gap is staying around the same, and he also didn't have a great exit out of Chapel, which really didn't help his case either. But and despite that mistake earlier on, it screwed up the gap to around 2 seconds. Scani's now back down to 1.4, as Havner is going to get past Probelli into Stowe, and the Kicksauber is back up into P4. Matty fastest lap, but there we have the difference. Scani, he has now got the fastest lap of the race. The gap is 1.4. We've got 4 laps to go, and 4 laps for him to try and get within DRS range to potentially pull up an overtake on the final lap of the race, because we know that he has got the straight line speed advantage. But it's now 1.2. I think that was a bit of a moment there for Matty on the exit of turn 5. But look how close Keith now is to the back of the McLaren. This might be his first opportunity, and he's going to make it. He's going to go for it up the inside. He goes to the McLaren, and Keith is going to take second place. Scani tries to fight back, but he's unable to do so. And the Mercedes now has been released, and he can now try and chase after Matty. The gap is 1.3 seconds. He's got the ERS advantage, and he has to make sure he stays ahead of the McLaren onto the hangar straight in a few corners time as well.
Remember, Matty hasn't got a win yet this season, so Matty is going for his first win. Keith is going for his second win because his last win was at the Japanese Grand Prix. He has a big chance, as Stian has set the fast lap of the Grand Prix on the medium compound tyres. That's very interesting there. He doesn't have enough softs left in this Grand Prix, as the rain was influenced heavily in the first part. Then he dried up on lap 16. Then went over the soft compound tyres, but he used them all to qualify. Pabelli is up as a P4 ahead of Havlor. Here is your championship leader, who's about to make his way in 3 laps time to become the champion. And I don't think I need to explain the commentator's curse because it won't happen, I believe. But Keith is under 1 second of DRS. Keith is chasing his second win of the season at the British GP at his home Grand Prix here. It's a Britain 1-2. Which one of these two Brits will get ahead of who? I wonder. Havlor gets back ahead of Pabelli. But Keith is in a prime position to win this Grand Prix. He's done a mega job all the way through. He was detached from this DRS train from first to third. He was under massive pressure as his teammate gets a 3-second penalty. But in the rain, he was under massive pressure from Casti. He shaked him off and kept 4th place, and he's came well and truly alive in this Grand Prix. He's got the youngest tyres on these lot, and as you can see, he's going defensive on the left hand side, but I don't think Keith wants to overtake Matty just yet because the DRS will give it towards Matty in the last few. That's the Grand Prix! Oh, he's on the inside! This contact between the Mercedes and the Red Bull as we now head towards Luffield. Here we go, around the outside, reminiscent of 2021 here between Verstappen and Hamilton as we exit Luffield. These are critical corners, as Martin Brunner would say, as we head up towards Luffield, Mucko and Copse we go. But luckily no repeat of Verstappen and Hamilton in towards Copse we go. But this battle is well and truly alive here. A little mistake for Matty there at the exit of Luffield gave Keith all the advantage coming to the inside, but there was contact made as now we're entering, I think it's for the 1-2 straight we go. DRS will be enabled on this straight, but Matty's vulnerable, defenceless, and Keith now takes the lead of the Grand Prix. And here comes McLaren, switching to the inside line as well. Will he take them both on as we go around the outside in towards Stowe? Keith, Scotty now is up into P2 ahead of the Red Bull driver. Now he puts the pressure on as we head down towards where we go. Keith outbreaks him in towards Vale or Club as now we exit the finals because I really need to do some research because I haven't done so, even though I've commentated on this track for a long time. Don't know any corner names or numbers around here.
We're on to the penultimate lap of this race, and the battle is on for the race win between Keith, Scotty, and Patty. Keith now in the lead of this race. He goes around half a second towards Scotty, which should be enough to hold off the McLaren on the Wellington straight as we round out of turn 5, out of the loop, and we go. DRS will be open for the McLaren, but 6 tenths behind won't be enough. Scotty knows that if he stays behind on the final lap, he could just overtake him down the hangar straight at the end. So I think the McLaren should stay behind for now if he wants to have a chance of winning this race. And he also has got a little bit of a gap towards Matty, which will help him. Because if Matty starts pushing him from behind, then he will be forced to overtake while he wants to stay behind going on to the final lap. But we're halfway through lap 25, a bit wide there for Keith, and the gap is closing to 2 tenths, 1 tenth as Scani really close now to the back of the Mercedes and potentially could find a way past already as look how close Matty is getting to the back of the McLaren as well. DRS open, ERS deployed for Scani, and is he going to try and go for the move? I think he is. He's closing the gap, and Scani going to go pull to the inside as we go into Stowe, and Scani is going to retake the lead of this race. Bit of contact between himself and Keith is now back down to 2nd place. If we go on to the final lap with the McLaren in P1, the Mercedes in 2nd, and a Red Bull in P3.
Wow, this is turning into a fantastic battle. The climax is burning up for the last lap of the Grand Prix, the last lap of the season. And it's a battle between the Dutchman, the 2 Brits in 2nd and 3rd place. Will the Dutchman of Scotty get his 4th win? Can Keith get his 2nd win? Can Matty get his 1st ever win here in Division 3? You can see Keith patting the pressure on as we head down towards turn 2, turn 3 and turn 4. In the loop we go. And as you can see, Keith is right at the back of Scotty there, but he doesn't have the ERS like Scotty does. Scotty's got enough ERS, but will Keith pounce in towards Stowe? Or will it be Brooklands? Here we go. The Keith is planning his attack right now as we head down towards Brooklands. This could be the bad decision for Keith there because in hindsight, he could think that Stowe was the best place to overtake, but he's overtaking right now. He might be under massive pressure going towards Stowe. I don't know why Keith has decided to go for it towards Brooklands. That could be the down of his Grand Prix. He needs to save the battery right now, but he can't really save a battery, especially on 60% here. So he might pay the consequences in towards Stowe. He might think back and think why he overtook it towards Brooklands, as we find out later on in a few seconds' time. The Marvel coming towards Magnus and Beck as we go. All these guys bunched up close together. I don't know why he did that. going in towards Brooklands. He should have waited for Stowe because, as you could see, these guys are right behind. Here we go. They're with the DRS wide open. And the battery, Cascani, will take away first place once again. And what about Matty in the background? Will he take on Keith? Keith goes defensive. He's been swamped as he goes down the inside in towards Stowe we go. Matty's up into P2. Here is Scani then, as he makes his way out of the final 3 corners, and as I predicted, Keith got overtaken in towards Stowe. Here comes Scani out of the final 3 corners. He wins the British GP, his 4th win of the season. Matty's in P2, Keith on the podium, as we now watch this man in P4, Pabelli was the champion last season, and once again Pabelli has done a fantastic job as he rounds the final corner. Pabelli is the SFR world champion once again for Division 3. What a fantastic championship season for Pabelli it has been. He struggled in the last few races, but consistency and his race pace is what kept him on form. What a fantastic drive for Pabelli. Havlor finishes in P5, Mr. Wiggles in 6th place, Jerry Oilglass, a decent race for him, into P7. Jake Boy is in 8th ahead of Mitchell DM Martin in P10. Ronnie finishes in P11 ahead of Stian. And Energy Dan, well, I can say I think Energy Dan and Keith are equal, if not 1 point ahead of each other. I'm not quite sure which order it is, but I don't know who finished second place in the championship. It's either Keith by ahead by 1 point or level pegging, so I'm not quite sure. But Energy Dan then, unfortunately, will finish in the last place in 30th place. Now, I would like to mention something as well, that I don't know if you guys noticed that I am ill, and that's the reason why I have been struggling to speak, pronounce words, etc., and think during the Grand Prix. Usually, like, you know, that I'm very good in terms of calling out battles, and also know the corner names, etc., but unfortunately, I am ill, and that's the reason why the commentary today hasn't up to standards, because I do feel like in this Grand Prix that my commentary hasn't been really the best. I have struggled to speak as well and explain things, and yeah, that's what's got to me today. So yeah, I really do apologise about the commentary. It has let me down in the last race of the season in Division 3, but yeah, I've got Milan with me, and thankfully he did an amazing job to save the race today, so thank you very much, Milan, for being alongside me. You've been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you very much, Faith. But congratulations there to Pabelli on the championship, and Scani from his second race win in a row. And I can confirm that after these provisional results, Keith and Energy Dan will be level on points. So that is quite interesting. But yeah, I think Energy Dan will stay in second place because he has got more second place. But well, what a race and what a season finale we've seen, with great battles and a great fight for the race win on those dying moments in this race, on those final few laps. And Pabelli, I must say, he has kept it calm and collected throughout this season finale, throughout this last race, which has brought him home the championship. So very, very well done to him, and well done to everyone for this season. It's been a pleasure to commentate in these final few races. Really enjoyed it. I'm sure I hope it won't be the last time, but that's it for me now. I will be going right now, but thank you very much, Jamie, as well, for having me alongside. It's been a pleasure as always, and I really enjoyed it. But thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thank you for being alongside me. So you go, and the drivers join for the interviews then. And well, there's 4 drivers. I didn't really want to speak to anybody today, but unfortunately, I've got to speak to 4 of them. So there we go. But yeah, thank you, Milan, once again, and I'll see you later, mate. Whenever.
Yeah, see you, mate. Take care.
So just to reiterate what I said about before, so I do want to mention now that IML got a sore throat, a blocked nose, and yeah, I'm not been able to speak properly as I would have wanted to. I think you guys could tell that I was really struggling to speak during the race. I couldn't really explain things properly like I normally would, and tripping over my words, and yeah, just not being able to focus properly. So I really do apologise about this Grand Prix. I know you guys don't really care, but to me it means a lot, because obviously every single race I want to perform well, and today I feel like I let myself down, and it does hurt a bit, because a good race like this where I'm not able to speak at all or like talk a lot. So Milan really did help in terms of like keeping the stream going, because I just had no clue what was going on. I couldn't even think about the track corners or names or anything like that. It's just the illness, the hay fever getting to me, just everything getting to me. So yeah, I really do apologise about it. Plus, I think I need a massive break as well, because I commentate like almost every single day. So I do need a bit of a break as well, and I had no time to prepare. So, yeah, I just want to apologise for the commentary not being 100% on my side, but 100% on Milan's side. So yeah, Milan, hopefully, yeah. I always know he does a good job, but in terms of me today, I just couldn't speak properly at all, and just couldn't get the words out. So I really do apologise, and I won't be watching this race back either, because whenever I don't feel like I don't do a good job of commentating on days like this, I don't really go watch it back. So yeah, I know it's deep talks, but yeah, enough of that. But we move on to the champion, because he did finish P4, and usually we go from P3 to P1 upwards, but we'll go for P4. So Pabelli, congratulations on being the champion for a second season in a row. Exhilarating, a fantastic performance, consistent, and you were absolutely phenomenal for the whole season as well. Despite only taking a few wins this season, it's all about big consistency as well, and beating your rivals when you need to as well, especially during the important times of the season as well. So congratulations today. How do you feel?
Thank you. Yeah, it's awesome. That was it was a hard race, especially with the wet. But yeah, it was fun.
It was definitely fun indeed, and you started making your way through slowly but surely as well. And the best you could have got today was P4, as the top three pulled away from you. But yeah, you made your way through quickly but surely as well. So yeah, well done today, man. Absolute fantastic drive for you, and what a fantastic season it has been for you once again. Fantastic, man. Sorry, I don't have a lot to say right now, but I'm a bit ill. I don't really want to talk.
Yeah. Thank you.
And we move on to Scotty. Scotty, what a fantastic drive for you, and you took the win into Stowe. So talk us through your race, mate.
Yeah, it was a difficult race. I can tell you that. Yeah, in quali I didn't really know what to go. Didn't know what to do with setup wise. It's like half the race was wet and half of it was dry. So went for an in-between setup, and I think it worked out well. In the end, like jeez, what a race! I think there was only like 5 laps or something where I didn't have a car like within a half a second of me. So I'm sure it was great to watch as well.
It was amazing to watch all those battles with you, and I think it's your 4th win of the season, and your pace, ever since you came back from a long hiatus away, you did a fantastic job to finish, I think, P4 in the championship with about 4 wins, the most wins out of anybody this season, so you must be really happy with that as well. And I know it's easy to say if you didn't have those DNSs, what could it have been, etc. But yeah, I think next season, I expect more from you as well after your pace. I know we're heading to a new game on the F125 game, so it could be anybody. It could be in anybody's hands. Whether you're fast on this game but slow in the next game, vice versa, or the same pace. Who knows? But we'll find out who can adjust the game very quickly on F125. And yeah, I know it's been a very short interview for both of you, but as you hear, I'm not really well enough to speak properly. So well done today, Scanny. Goed gedaan vandaag.
Thank you. Get well soon as well.
Dankjewel. And that's it then for Division 3. It's been a fantastic season. Final race of the season as well has been absolutely fantastic around here in Silverstone, as it always is. Join us back for Division 2 at 7:30 with Tiger Bucher. I will be there. But yeah, it's been an absolute pleasure to commentate for Division 2 for the past 3 seasons. I've enjoyed it all, but unfortunately, it's been time consuming because I do 2 divisions at once, and I want to primarily focus on Division 1. So I will leave Division 2 in the good hands of Tiger Bucher, and whatever commentator you'll find, hopefully will deliver you the comments you deserve as well for Division 2. But I'll be back for Division 1 on Wednesday for the final race this season. There's still a championship fight in Division 1 between Fireblaze and Kiname. That's going to be spiced up to be a good one as well. I haven't got the championship standings for you because I haven't been updated, but it is super tight at the front. I think there is 3 points separating Fireblaze and Kiname. For the final race this season in Division 1, there is still one more championship to be crowned in the final race this final season in Division 1. Join us back on Wednesday for me and whoever else is alongside me.